Hello everyone, this is Dr. Afshan Hashmi, and today I will be reading little bit from Don Jr.'s book Triggered. But before doing that, let me remind you that I am the best-selling author of these two books. The first one is The Modern Mughal Mentality, New Strategies to Succeed in India and the Global Marketplace. And when this book came in, there was a lot of research going on in Harvard and Stanford about Jugaad, the Hindi buzzword. And this is a very conversational book. And also, this book was Amazon bestseller as well as hot number one new release on Amazon. And the second book, The Outbreak of a Monstrous Infection, this is when this book came in 2019. There was no trace of coronavirus, and in a very unique story, this book tells about bioterrorism and how a virus, when it spreads, can ruin the human population. And the Tailfix review says that my book is comparable to Contagion, Carrier, and Outbreak. So, if you haven't, and this was also an Amazon bestseller, and it is available wherever books are sold, in paperback, in Kindle, in Nook, as well as in audio. And please buy these two books and give me an honest review, because through these books I finance these kind of programs, and it is very difficult to finance these programs if there is no book sales. So, and this program is will be syndicated to 300 million listeners worldwide. Having said that, friends, and I'm looking for sponsorship for these programs. And now, friends, I will be reading from Triggered. But before doing that, I have triggered in both or audible as well as uh, in Kindle. So first I will little bit from Triggered, and then from a little bit from Triggered for what it has to say. And this is the book, and it is in Audible. So I will play Audible first.
This is Audible. Hachette Audio presents Triggered: How the Left Thrives on Hate and Wants to Silence Us. Written by Donald Trump Jr. Read by James Edward Thomas, with the chapter read by the author. I dedicate this book to the deplorables. While the elite of the other party look down on you and would rather you stay silent, I salute your work ethic, patriotism, and values. America wouldn't be great without your blood, sweat, and tears. I will always stand with you. I am proudly one of you. Chapter 1. Trigger Warning. I'm not mad. Look, everyone is called a traitor once or twice in their lives, right? Everybody gets falsely accused and wrongly investigated by the FBI and has to testify in front of Congress for over 30 hours, answering the same stupid, politically motivated questions over and over, don't they? And everybody has an army of social justice warriors combing through every word they've ever said online to find something to be offended by, correct? Why should I be mad? I'm not mad. In fact, my plan was to write a feel-good book about forgiveness and
So this was from Audible, which I have on my phone here, and this book I bought both in Audible as well as in Kindle form. And so I just wanted to give you a fresh outlook, like reading for. I will do reading afterwards, but first, I just wanted to show you that what Audible is and how Audible works, and how it is this book looks on Audible, and it is a beautiful book. And I will review this book on my W4WN Radio and Talk4TV in forthcoming weeks. So please look for that, and my thoughts will be there, because I want a balanced view of, I'm a neutral person and a very fair person, and I will give on that week one a book of Don Jr. and other book of Adam Schiff, so the audience can see like what these two books were about. So on the same week on K4 HD Radio and Talk4TV, I will be giving Adam Schiff's book, the new book which came, and on W4WN Radio and Talk4TV, I will be giving review of this triggered book. And now I will go to my Kindle and read this book little bit for you. So in my forthcoming shows on these two radio and Talk4TV networks, please look for it, and you can download the app of K4 HD Radio, and by going to K4 HD radio website, and also you can do that app of w4wn.com on by going to w4wn.com, and you can see the live show. And also you can for talk4tv.com, you can go to talk4tv.com and see the live episodes there. And on every Wednesday I come on W4WN Radio and Talk4TV from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. US Eastern Time, and on the Thursdays on K4 HD Radio and Talk4TV, I come from uh, uh, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. US Eastern Time. And having said that, friends, look for when I'm going to review these two books. And now, friends, I will be reading little bit from this book, Triggered, on my Kindle. So this is my Kindle, and this is the book, and now I will start reading. And I wanted to give a balanced view of the both sides of the aisle, the Democrats and Republicans, because I'm a very neutral person. I want to hear both sides of the story, and I just loved this book. And if you want reviews, you can contact me at Afshan at Dr.Afshan Hashmi.com. Triggered, how the left thrives on hate and wants to silence us. Donald Trump Jr. Trigger warning. I am not mad. Look, everybody is called a traitor once or twice in their lives, right? Everybody gets falsely accused and wrongly investigated by the FBI and has to testify in front of Congress for over 30 hours, answering the same stupid, politically motivated questions over and over again, don't they? And everybody has an army of social justice warriors combing through every word they have ever said online to find something to be offended by. Correct? Why should I be mad? I am not mad. In fact, my plan was to write a feel good book about forgiveness and healing, sort of a chicken soup for the political soul type of story. I was even going to call it Kumbaya instead of Triggered, but it seemed that little was already taken, probably by one of the 2,467 Democrat candidates currently running for president. So instead of chicken soup over the next 300 pages or so, I'll take you on a tour of all the craziest, most destructive ideas that the left has come up with in the last decade or more. Think of it as a trip through Jurassic Park Only instead of dangerous dinosaurs, you get to see sleepy liberal losers, socialist crybabies, and hypocritical politicians and media. If you decide to come along, I promise that nothing will jump into the car with us. You'll also get to find out a little bit about me during the ride, if only as a way to dispel the conspiracy theory on the left that I was born with horns. Before we get going, however, I need to make a few disclaimers. If you have been around lawyers as much as I have lately, you begin to think like them. First, I am not operating in my official capacity as a spokesman for my father's campaign in these pages. So, if I were to say something like, oh, I don't know, Adam Schiff is a lying ass clown, or Robert Mueller is a feeble old fool who got used by the Democrats. If I were to hypothetically say those things, that's all just my opinion. No one on the campaign has been consulted, and I doubt any of them would care very much anyhow. I'm just saying what they all know to be true but don't want to take the heat for saying in public. I guess that's just one of those things that got passed down in the genes. Second, as much as I might joke around, I am not actively trying to offend anyone with what I am about to say. I am just making arguments, backing them up with facts, and putting them out into the world the same way millions of people have done with millions of books before mine. I would actually like to think of this book as offering a reasoned antidote to all the hysterical bullshit that's flying around right now. That used to be called discourse, but today discourse exists only for leftists. When conservatives do it, they call it hate speech. I also know that as the son of a rich white guy living in 2019, I'm essentially not allowed to have an opinion anymore, let alone express that opinion in public. Finally, I guess I should probably include a note about the title of my book, because it's probably not a term you hear every day. In fact, if you are over the age of about 35, or you haven't spent the last few years on college campus, on Twitter, or in an asylum, and really who can tell the difference anymore, you probably have no idea why this book is called Triggered. Allow me to explain. Today, as it appears on the internet, at least the term trigger warning is used to describe something, say a tweet from my dad, that blows up the fragile sensibilities of the liberal Twitterverse. At the very least, it sets their hair on fire and creates a minor news story for a few days, but at the worst, it moves them to real life outrage and organized violence. And before you ask, the freaking out is widely appropriate, while conservatives usually get worked up over important things such as the killing of babies or the stripping away of our natural rights as human beings. With liberals, the triggers tend to be much sillier. If you say capitalism is better than socialism, they freak out. If my father says America is the greatest country in the world, they lose it. If you tell them that the cat video they posted isn't that cute, they have a complete breakdown. With every passing day, the bar for what considered triggering gets lower and lower. For example, you ever asked someone where they are from? Well, according to liberals, you can't do that anymore. It's called a microaggression. Don't worry, I'll explain these terms as we go. And when Robert Mueller says the president of the United States is not an agent of Russia, which, call me crazy, seems as though it should be good news for everyone. They melt down and console each other like they did when they found out Al Franken was a creepy pervert. So, because my book will contain sections with the number of these so called dangerous ideas, I thought it best to include a little warning of my own. Though it isn't illegal yet to discuss triggering ideas like this in a book, who knows where we will be by the time this goes to print. I could be brought up on charges just for having an opinion or a picture of myself on the cover. Your trigger warning: do not continue reading this book if you do not like conservative ideas, or if the thought of reading bad. So, this is like the inside of the book I'm reading. word scares you. So now I'll go to another chapter and see counterpunch. I do not know if you have heard, but the Mueller report is out. Turns out I'm not a Russia agent after all. After spending almost $40 million in taxpayer money, employing 19 of the most prejudiced Democrat lawyers they could find in Washington, D.C., some of whom had worked for the Clinton family and others who had been at her victory party, magically without a single Republican, and taking nearly 2 years to do an investigation. So this is here that anyone with half a brain could have done in 5 minutes. The Mueller team found absolutely zero evidence of collusion or obstruction. So this is the second chapter. Little bit I read from there. Let me read from the third chapter. Little bit. This third chapter is cracks in the foundation. Cracks in the foundation. I was only 4 or 5 years out of college when I undertook my first major project as a VP for the Trump organization. I had already learned a great deal about the business on a few smaller projects in New York City, but this was much different. 98 stories high, the Trump International Hotel and Tower now stands on the banks of the Chicago River. Luckily, I was alongside some of the most talented men and women in the business. We worked day and night on the project for close to 5 years because of the team's commitment to the company. We bought the whole thing in one time and under budget. So this is here, and so this was little bit about the book. And in the forthcoming program you will be here on W4WN Radio and Talk4TV. You will hear about my views and that. So I just wanted to come and give a little preview of this. Having said that, friends, cheers, and now I will end this program, and bye bye.